So as I said, there were a lot of other means of death at Dachau. Some of these, they had a pistol range where they would line their prisoners up in front of this concrete wall and basically shoot them. This is what it looked like then, and this is what it looks like now. Okay, so once again, this is an example where they've kind of let things kind of naturalize and grow up around it. What was interesting, you can see the pistol range back here still. There was a ditch dug in front of it, and they've left it there, and they've left it visible because this plaque says that this ditch was meant to drain the blood away. So you can imagine how many people they must have killed here at a time to actually need a ditch to drain away the blood. Another way that they killed prisoners was shooting them in the head. They would have put them in front of these mounds here, and that's why they are mounded up. So if the bullet went through, it would go into the dirt and not ricochet off. If you remember clear back at the beginning of the presentation, I showed you two areas that they had still allowed the trees to grow up, and one was surrounding the gas chambers, and the other one I told you was screening places where they did additional killing. This is what it was screening. Okay, so these were behind the trees, and so was the pistol range. Dachau also participated in death marches. These were long marches between camps where prisoners were not allowed to rest, drink, eat, anything like that, and they would just have to continually walk between the camps without any rest. And if you died on the way, all the better for the Germans, because then they didn't have to worry about you. They also had something called a death train. Now, this is not an example of a death train because the cars would have been enclosed. But just like they did with some mobile killing units, locking people inside the backs of trucks and routing gas or exhaust from the truck into it, they did the same thing with trains. They would have loaded prisoners into closed cars, closed the doors, and injected gas or exhaust into them to kill them off. Many prisoners were also killed in Dachau's gas chambers. As the Allies got closer to the camp, to freeing it, to liberating it, more and more prisoners were sent here to try to hide the evidence of what they were actually doing with the Jewish population. So this is what the gas chambers looked like. So we've gone over the bridge and we've gone through the trees there. Okay, so this is what's on the other side. And notice it doesn't look bad at all. It actually, when I first saw it, it kind of reminded me of an older elementary building, okay, like a school building. So you'll notice here, plenty of windows, okay, doesn't look intimidating. I want you to pay attention to this area right here, because notice this area with no windows, this is exactly where the gas chambers are. So you would have arrived here and you would have gone through the front doors here. And this is the room you would have ended up in nice and bright. This was the disrobing room. They would have told you in this room, hey, you know what, go ahead, take off your clothes, fold them neatly, put them somewhere where you will remember where they're at, because you're going to need to get them once you're done with your shower. That's what they would have told you. Now, what I didn't take a picture of, and I really wish I had, was along this wall. It wasn't just a solid wall. There was a series of 4 doors here. And those doors had 2 sides to them. So you had 4 doors, and then you had an additional, they led to 4 rooms, 4 little small rooms. And those rooms also had doors then on the opposite wall heading outside. Okay, so behind each of these large doors is a little small square room with an additional door then leading into this to the disrobing room. And what these doors were meant for, what these rooms were meant for, they were 4 additional small little gas chambers. And what they would have done is once the people were actually in the gas chamber, and they would have taken all their clothing that they left behind, and they would have piled it into one of these 4 chambers, closed the doors on the disrobing side, closed the doors on this side, and gassed the clothes as well. That was to disinfect them, to get rid of any bugs or lice or anything like that, to kill that off so that they could reuse the clothing. There's a better look at those doors, and you'll notice there's locks on the outside of them. Okay, so these would have closed, they would have locked them, and then they would have gassed the clothing. This is what the Allies found when they arrived here. So they're down on the lower level here. Those doors are right behind here. You can't see them because the clothes are in the way. But these are all the clothes that they were then hanging out to air out to reuse. This is in the disrobing room. So there's a door in there, and this says shower room right above it. But you'll notice what's missing on this side of the door. No handle whatsoever. But on the back side of the door, just like in those disinfecting rooms for the clothing, there are 2 locks. So everyone would have gone inside, the door would have been closed, and it would have been locked behind them. And this is what the shower room looks like. Notice there's no windows or anything, but it looks like a shower room. There were drains in the floor. There would have been piping and shower heads all along the ceiling here. Those were all destroyed and taken down when they tried to hide the evidence of what they were doing. So how it was accomplished was outside, this is that area I told you about before, there would have been poison pellets that were put inside of each of these slots, and then they would have been slid shut. This is what it looks like on the inside. So we're in the shower room again. So they would have been put in here, so the poison pellets would be sitting in here, and then gas would have been pumped into the room, and the gas reacts with the poison pellets, creating a poison gas, killing everybody inside. The gas did not come through the shower heads. It wasn't anything like that. Okay, those were all just a sham to keep people calm, to make it look like, yes, you were really actually going to get a shower. This is the only surviving fake shower head from Dachau, the only one they found. Everything else had been taken away and destroyed to try to hide the evidence. But this is what it would have looked like. This is a picture taken from Auschwitz, okay, a very famous killing camp. So yes, it would have looked like a regular shower head with piping and everything. So once everybody had died, the bodies were taken into the next room. This is where they would have stacked the bodies in preparation to cremate them. And I want you to pay attention to this drain in the floor here, because it's the exact same drain in the floor that's here. So this is a shot of, obviously from back then, the Nazis kind of documented what happened. Okay, so they would cut the bodies to drain the fluid away because those would burn faster than a body filled with fluid. And after they were drained, they would take them one at a time through the next door into the crematoria. And like I said, these are actual pictures from back then because the Nazis wanted to document what was going on. They thought that this was a good thing and people were going to want to know how to do this later. So the crematoria had 4 ovens. They used prisoners for the labor. Okay, these prisoners were kept separate from the other ones so that they didn't know what was going on. The bodies were taken in here and they were put onto the stretchers and they were burnt. This is what the ovens look like today. There are 4 of them, like I said. There's one more over here that you can't see. Here's a better look into the oven. So these would have been going constant 24/7 to try to burn away the evidence. When the Allies arrived, they found piles and piles of dead bodies. However, today, much of the site has been made over, as I said earlier, to include a lot of memorials and commemorative plaques to all of those who died, because many people still come here to remember loved ones and family members and to, pray for the atrocity that really happened. All right. Well, I'm not going to say I hope you enjoyed that, but I do hope that you did find it interesting. As I told you in your briefing for the week here at the beginning, what I would like you to do is to now go over to Schoology, log yourself in, and in your home instruction file that's been created there, the folder that's been created there, there is a discussion post. What you need to do is go ahead and click on that discussion. And there are directions there telling you what I would like you to do. But basically, I'd like you to write 3 or 4 sentences commenting about your thoughts, any questions that you have, reactions that you had. You can also read through some of your classmates' thoughts and respond to some of them. I'd like to use this as a little bit of an online discussion. Okay, so go ahead and close out of here and head over there and do that while it's fresh in your mind. Thanks, guys.